Hello everyone. First off, I'd like to wish everyone good luck on this assignment, this course, and their professional careers as we maneuver ourselves out of this totally awesome 2020. My name is Alex Sabatier, and my presentation today is about the ethics behind online piracy. I know that the topic has been around for decades, but it's one that has never and likely never will go away, at least not from an ethical standpoint. From a legal standpoint, however, it may be the case that someday laws are enacted that truly disrupt the internet and how information is shared. We'll go ahead and take a look at a snippet of the life of John Dee and how his actions led him to walk the line of the ethical standards of the ACM. In 2011, SOPA and PIPA were introduced in the House and the Senate, respectively. SOPA stands for Stop Online Piracy Act, and PIPA stands for Protect IP Act. To really make a deep dive into SOPA and PIPA and the ripple effects of those proposed laws is beyond the scope of this presentation, but if you haven't already, I truly urge you to read up on them. No matter what side you really stand on ethically, at the very least, be fully informed about all the changes they wanted to enact and what that would mean for the internet today. These two particular proposed laws have not passed through Congress. They have only been tabled due to the outrage that caused when they were proposed. Countless major sites around the internet protested against them, including Google, Wikipedia, and Reddit, just to name three. Many others joined them in blacking out in protest. The issue with SOPA and PIPA is that aside from their main goal of attempting to shut down online piracy, they would enact such wild loopholes that if a single user commented on a legal link, illegal in this case being something linking to something pirated or stolen from a person or company illegally, if they just commented that link on a perfectly legal site with a comment section, then that site could possibly get shut down. This means that practically any site with a comment section is likely getting shutting down. I can walk the line of both sides of the ethics that pertain to online piracy, but that sounds pretty ridiculous to me. Khan Academy has a great short video detailing this in a way much better than I ever can. And as a side note, there's a documentary called The Internet's Own Boy about the life of Aaron Swartz, a Reddit co-founder that we lost way too soon, that ties into all of this and I think is a great watch. As of this recording, it's free to watch on YouTube. John Dee is a teenager who grew up with a working class family. He's comfortable, but he's definitely seen a few rough days. He has unconditional love from his family, but they don't spend a lot of time together because John is always listening to music on his own or hanging out with his friends. John always hears about the shows and movies his friends watch, and they can't really talk much about them out of fear that they'll spoil something for John, who usually hasn't seen them. On the flip side, John feels bad about this as well. There's a disconnect there, and he ends up feeling pretty shitty for not being able to connect with his friends. The next day, one of John's good friends, Jimmy, hits him up with an email to a site that will solve all his problems. Jimmy tells him he can just search for whatever he wants, and 9.999 times out of 10, it'll be there. Jimmy also tells him about some sites where you can download ROMs and emulators for some video games. John researches a bit and sees that a ton of people do this, and they've been doing it for a while. It can't be that bad, right? All of a sudden, John finds himself home watching all the movies and shows and decides to set up a weekly movie night with his family. They're a bit shocked at first. He's always running around the neighborhood and always ignores them, so they jump at the chance to spend time with him. This brings them closer together as a family, and they have something new to talk about. Not to mention, John downloaded a few old school video games his mom and dad used to play, and now they can't wait to come home from work to play with him. The nostalgia hits pretty hard. John couldn't be happier. He can now talk to his friends about last night's shows or the movies that just came out, and his family is having a blast together. Now we get to the boring part with rules and regulations. John is not looking forward to this. For this session, I will cite the ACM Code of Ethics, two particular sections that will split the situation in half ethically. Section 1.1 states that users should contribute to society and to the overall well-being of the human race, acknowledging that all people are stakeholders in computing. In a general sense, this means that whether we touch a computer or not, we are affected by them. This is especially true in today's world and moving forward. The well-being of a society, and larger than that, the entire world, according to utilitarianism, means that the greater good prevails. This would mean that the billions of people who illegally download and enjoy movies, shows, video games, music, etc. would win versus the few companies who control and own those items. Section 1.5, on the other hand, states that users need to respect the work required to produce content like ideas, inventions, and creative works. This obviously translates to do not steal my stuff that you don't own. Plain and simple. If I made something and you want it, pay me for it. It's valuable, is it not? You do want it after all. Clearly, we have an ethical dilemma, and it's still, as of this video, yet to be solved. The ethical point of view. John D. and his family are much closer than they've been in years. They spend a lot more time together, now enjoying watching movies, shows, and the video games that John's parents grew up playing. From a generalized point of view, this is the greater good for society. According to dataprop.com, the United States alone had 17.38 billion users visiting pirating sites in 2018. Let's set aside pirating movies, shows, for a moment. I mentioned earlier the documentary about Aaron Swartz titled The Internet's Own Boy. In it, he wants to freely distribute scientific journals and papers that are locked behind a paywall on MIT. This was a regular guy who enjoyed learning new things, and he wanted to share it with the world. He didn't feel like the only select few students and faculty should be allowed to read this. It's like saying Wikipedia can only be read by a select small group of people. This is the analogy he tried to make, and it's only a small part of the fight against SOPA and PIPA. However, there are always two sides to every story, and the ethics of online piracy is no different. How would you feel if you were an up-and-coming actor in an indie movie that had phenomenal reviews? Everyone is talking about it, but nobody is going to see it in the theater. They're all pirating it off a site. Sure, you're being celebrated for your acting skills, but the finance and legal department are hitting a wall. It doesn't add up that so many people are talking up the movie, but the ticket prices are stagnant. A quick glance at the most famous pirate sites state that your movie has been the #1 downloaded movie for quite some time. This explains everything, but our metaphorical characters are stuck in the same dilemma. People still need to get paid. Not just the actors, directors, and multimillionaire producers, but the extras, the costume designers, the composer, the grips, the assistants. When we think about ripping off a movie or a show for free online, we sometimes rationalize by saying something like, oh well, the studio is filthy rich, the actors are millionaires. That may be true for some movies, but definitely not all. And even the major movies have people. Not everyone is an A-lister after all. And hell, don't A-listers deserve their hard-earned money too? It's definitely not an easy solution. The ethics of online piracy is a big whole gray area with warring sides, but the portion that downloads movies, shows, and music illegally is only a part of the problem. There's much more at stake with laws that are trying to be enacted in Congress, like SOPA and PIPA, that have far worse repercussions for everyone online, not just pirates. These proposed laws have gone away so far, but they keep coming back with different names, slightly different legal terminology, but ultimately do the very same things at their core. At the very least, I urge everyone, especially if you're a computer science major, to read up on the laws that will shape your future online. If you made it this far, congratulations, and thank you for watching.